Good afternoon, everybody. Mike Naso here from IPR365.com and PodWeather.com with a video update on the tropics. And taking a look out there today, you can see we do have three systems. We have two Category 4 hurricanes simultaneously at that intensity at the same time in the Atlantic for the first time since 1926. And you can see one of them, of course, is Hurricane Igor, sitting right here in the area here, the Central Atlantic. And one of them is Hurricane Julia, which was an unexpected Category 4 hurricane, and by far the furthest Category 4 hurricane that far east in the Atlantic that we've ever seen. We also have Tropical Storm Karl, which is now inland over the Yucatan, weakening slowly, still extremely impressive, and moving back towards the water. It will exit later tonight, early tomorrow morning, and spend at least 36 hours over the Bay of Campeche, and it is expected to become a potent little hurricane. Now we're going to start with Igor, since that is the meanest looking thing on this satellite imagery, and taking a look as of 11 a.m. at the latest on Hurricane Igor. Igor was at 19.8 north, 55.0 west. Winds were down to 135 miles per hour. Now I don't want to talk down a 135 mile per hour hurricane, but that is a big difference from the 155 miles per hour we saw yesterday. Winds still in that eye wall gusting to 160. It's moving west-northwest slowly still at 8. 942 millibars. You can see it's expected to fluctuate. Category 4 now, probably a Category 3 tomorrow. By the time late Thursday comes along, a Category 4 again into Friday. And then we can do a 3 by the weekend, a 2, and then as it passes Bermuda, still be a Category 1 or 2 hurricane. And you can see the track here. If you actually extrapolate the center of the track, and it's still far out, that would be a motion like this, which would be just barely close to Bermuda. That could very well mean that the system would either go straight over the island as it turns, or just to the west. So those are the two worst case scenarios for Bermuda, because that either means it's going to go right over the top of you, or just west would put you on the strong side of the hurricane. Either way, it could still move a little further north and miss you. It could move much further west, but still give you a good smack. You can see the model guidance indicates generally tightly clustered towards Bermuda and then up and out, and we're not going to have to deal with Igor anymore after that. But Igor has been an impressive hurricane, hasn't he? I mean, look at this satellite loop. You can see the hurricane has been really fluctuating in intensity, but continues to be massive and dominant in the Atlantic. Look at there, the islands in Puerto Rico, Hispaniola showing up. Gives a good indication of where the eye of the hurricane is, as that motion will eventually continue on off towards the west-northwest and then turn northwest, sparing the islands from the wrath of Igor. Now, Igor isn't the only system we have. We do have Tropical Storm Karl. Now, as of 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, Karl was at 18.8 north, 88.7 west. Winds were down to 55 miles per hour. It is moving to the west at 13. That is straight west right now, 994 millibars. And it is expected to continue west, weaken to a depression, come out, move a little bit to the west-northwest throughout Thursday, re-strengthen into a tropical storm, and then spend all day Friday as a strengthening tropical storm into a hurricane before landfall Saturday morning somewhere near Tampico, Mexico. But there is the chance that if it keeps this westward motion, it could be on the southern edge of this track. There is the chance it could bump further north and be stronger and more towards northern Mexico. We do still have those tropical storm warnings and watches up for the Yucatan, as it is causing gusty winds and heavy rainfall. You can see a lot of the model guidance now is shifting a little bit to the north today. We do see that the current motion is this blue line I just drew. That is the current motion. The hurricane center track is in red, and you can see they are expecting that bump and then back west. The consensus of the models in black that I'll draw out is right there, just around or just barely to the north of the hurricane center. But look at, in green, all these models here that are farther to the north. Now, if the system does take that type of track, generally west-northwest all of a sudden, like that, it's going to be over water much longer, probably not make landfall until Saturday night or Sunday, and be a lot stronger, and we'd have to deal with it then, and that would not be a good thing for areas of Mexico. You can see the Latest satellite imagery of Tropical Storm Karl, and Karl's sitting right here, and it continues to look impressive, and it's already a good distance inland. It's almost halfway there, and then it's going to come out, strengthen like mad over the waters into at least an 85 to 90 mile an hour hurricane. So it could close in on Category 2 strength, but if it moves any slower than that, you can't even rule out a major hurricane. Remember how fast Hermine spun up a week or so ago? Same type of deal. Now we also have another Category 4 hurricane. This is Hurricane Julia, and as of 11 a.m. Eastern Time, the eye of the hurricane was at 18.2 north, 32.7 west. This thing isn't even to 35 west, and it's already a Category 4 hurricane, moving northwest. What a rare track, speed, and area. This goes to show how hot the waters are, because quite frankly, things aren't that favorable for Julia, and certainly not to crank up into a Cat 4. It does have the shear from Igor. Water temperatures aren't that much warmer than normal, so this was unexpected. Winds still 135 miles per hour, gusting to 160, 950 millibars. Expected to remain a Category 4 hurricane, and then gradually bend west, weaken, and then pull north and out to sea. We're not going to have to deal with it. You can see the model guidance for the hurricane. It's a little bit more uncertain through time, but at least in the next 2 or 3 days, we got a good idea it's probably going to move northwest, then west-northwest, and back north. Maybe do this little loop-de-loop. That'd be interesting to see if Julia actually would pull that off. Here's the latest satellite imagery of our Category 4 hurricane, and you can see it's still got that eye. And I told you yesterday, as long as that core of strong winds around that eye wall is not impacted by Igor's shear, which you can see here is diving just to the south and west of the hurricane here, the hurricane can strengthen. But it looks like Julia's definitely peaked, but it still is. I mean, if this thing were making landfall in Miami, the damage would be horrific. But looking at it from an out-to-sea satellite perspective, next to a hurricane like Igor, Julia does look rather ragged. It could be weakening down to a Category 3 by now, but as of now, still officially a Category 4 hurricane. Now you can see the upper level winds. Julia's got some wind shear to deal with from the outflow here of Igor. Igor's got a little bit of favorability coming up, but it's not going to be as favorable as it has been. Karl's got absolute stunning conditions until landfall, ideal for development. So as long as Karl stays over water, Karl can strengthen, and so we're going to have to deal with that. I wanted to note real quickly, the GFS model has been showing our system. As you can see, it spins Karl into Mexico, it spins Igor near Bermuda, Julia comes out, but look at this. See this little thing? It tries to spin up, watch what happens. All of a sudden, we get two more systems. One, a Cape Verde hurricane, the other, a Caribbean hurricane. In the longer ranges, this one isn't that big a feature, but this one in the Caribbean takes a devastating track towards the Gulf of Mexico. We've seen some runs take it to Texas, some South Texas, some to Florida. Right now, it's too early to say if that'll pan out, but you're talking about a system that's going to come from a wave that gets stemmed off of Julia, and we're going to have to watch for that very, very carefully in the Atlantic Basin. So that'll do it for Hurricane Igor, Hurricane Julia, and Tropical Storm Karl. I'm Mike Naso from IPR. I'll see you next time.